Are we good?
We are so live.
All right, we are live. Hey, everybody, welcome very much. Welcome to Gallowclass. Thank you very much for hanging out on your Tuesday evening. Oh my gosh, have I been busy since the last time I was in front of this camera. I drove down to Southern California for the Nebula Awards. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. And I had a great weekend. I made some really good business contacts. Most of it I can't talk about yet, but it's very, very exciting. One thing that I will say is I got to do my presentation, The Geek's Guide to Literary Theory, at the Nebula Awards, and yeah, it was great. It was really well received. I got some really good feedback on it, and people were like jazzed to get into more of the theory aspect, and I got a lot of mad respect for the sort of the mission statement for the Geek's Guide to Literary Theory panel, in that the having this sort of conversation beginning more through academia and the literary community and the genre science fiction fantasy community. Really, really excited. Some really pretty big names in the industry got behind it. I did it again at Baycon this last weekend, and another pretty big writer in science fiction, who I grew up writing, showed up and gave support. So that's really exciting. And yeah, no, I can't talk about that other thing quite yet.
Come this way a little bit.
What was that?
Come this way a little bit.
I will come. Which way?
This way, towards the camera.
This
there
way.
we go.
Oh,
there we go.
wow. Yeah, Gallowclass. Anyway, and I'm still a little punchy because this. So I went to that. I had a couple of meetings in Southern California that I also can't talk about because of massive NDAs. But they're exciting. They were very exciting. Some of them were meetings just to see if we were going to have more meetings in the future, as that's what happens in business in the entertainment industry in Southern California. And mostly I'm talking about this stuff kind of stalling so that more people can be showing up after they get the notification. Baycon was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of teaching at Baycon, which was really, really cool. Again, also I did Geek's Guide to Literary Theory, which is like my favorite thing ever. Love that panel. Very exciting. Did a generative workshop. One really cool thing that happened is after I did a generative workshop, which is basically where we write a little bit and then I talk about why, the craft reasons why I make people do certain writing prompts. And so this married couple, a couple of ladies came to my signing and they got the Writing 365 book. It's the one that has 366 actually, because I did it on a leap year. The writing prompts where people, if you get it, you can just write in the hard copy of the book, and they got it and they're going to do it together.
Oh,
I mean, it was really sweet. That was like awesome.
Really
so we did the dramatic readings, or how to give a stellar reading. That was awesome. We won't talk about the Saturday night panel. That was Saturday night. That was Saturday night panel. Yeah, that was a thing that happened, and we will speak of it not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Carlson says, "Aloha from Hawaii."
Hello, Rebecca Carlson from Hawaii. Okay, so and one of the reasons why I'm talking about these events, I've done, I think, 5 events so far this year. The Nebulas, Baycon, LTE, Genre Law in LA, and I think there was one other one that I did. Oh, I've taught a couple of workshops just on my own. And something that we're not going to talk so much about the process of writing. Well, sort of the process of writing. I'm kind of figuring.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I'm sure about that. Okay, so what are you doing, dude?
I'm trying to fix the brightness. Your face is blown out.
Oh, okay.
But don't. All right.
All right. So
I'm done.
Yeah, because that's really Cody's doing some behind the things tech stuff, and it was really distracting on the screen. So okay, so I'm gonna stop for a second and really think about how I want to approach this. A couple times at each of the events that I've been to, with the exception of the Nebulas, in panels or when I'm giving a talk, I would sort of naturally progress into, because it's something that I guess has been subconsciously running through my head, is asking people who has like a support network, specifically a support network of other writers. And very few people actually raised their hands in those moments. And it got me to thinking largely about my kind of my career path, but also the career path of friends of mine. And so it shocked me, and it really shocked me when I was in the generative workshop. Was it? No. It wasn't the generative workshop. It was the 4 Steps to Engaging Fiction, which had like 30 people in that panel or that class at Baycon. And so I said, "Hey, who's got your writing buddies? Who do you bounce ideas off of?" And so very few people raised their hands, and it really got me thinking, like, my career exists largely because I've been able to surround myself with fellow writers, some of it through education. One of the things that was really cool about my time at San Francisco State in my bachelor's program is I was surrounded and went to classes with 30 people in each class, and everybody there was like, yes, we all have permission to be writers. And even more so, even though I didn't have that many people in classes, because most of it was done through correspondence with a mentor during my master's at Sierra Nevada, I got even more of that. And not just, yes, we can be writers, but people saying, no, you have a voice. Your fiction belongs in the world. And even one of my teachers was like, you need to be a poet too. And not just doing the thing that you said that I set out to do, but that people were encouraging me to be an essayist and to be a theorist and a poet. And sort of, because I'm in this little bubble, like, because we all do the thing in the bubble, right? We write in the bubble. So we're alone and we're in our room, and sometimes we kind of go to Facebook or Twitter, but even then we're still alone in a room looking at this, or we're alone in a coffee shop doing this. And so the process part of what we do as writers, as artists, of craftsmen, it's so solitary, and we forget that sometimes we need that affirmation, especially because the world tells us not to. So much, I mean, like, oh, like if somebody says, I'm going to be an actor, oh yeah, which restaurant? For writers, it's, oh, I'm a writer. Oh yeah, can I get foam on my latte? Because, writers work at Starbucks. And so anyway, but don't quit your day job. Even in academia, even in my BA, it was at San Francisco State, it wasn't quite as bad. But when I was at a local community college taking lit classes and saying I want to be a writer and I want to be a fantasy science fiction writer, people were like, oh, what? In the lit classes, even in academia, it tells you say you want to be a writer. They go, no, don't do that. I had just popped into my brain while I was at American River College working to transfer towards San Francisco State. I had somebody who had just finished her English BA who wanted to be a writer but didn't believe that she could be a legitimate writer until she was dead. Ooh. Like, she could put stuff into the world, but in her mind, because she had bought into the crap of a literary program instead of a writing program, they had done a number on her and made her believe that she wouldn't be considered a serious writer until after until posthumously. And that's dumb. Anyway, so, right?
I want to swear a lot at that.
Right, and I haven't thought about that for years. But it was just one of those things. And so what I want to... so partially I want to give a shout out to the guys that keep going out to all these events and supporting me, Cody and David and Jenny and Kellyanna, who's done a couple of tables with me. Cody, there we go. Who has done the new Dragonbone flute covers, and but also my writer pals, and that list is just way too long to go, but my fans and everything. Now, most of you who are watching probably are not in a position in your career at this point to have a whole lot of fans. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is if you don't have a support network, removed, really kind of removed from your family, because sometimes, and this is potentially a can of worms for some people, but sometimes family drama is going to get in the way of their willingness to support this weird thing that's taking time away. I mean, before you're making a living at writing, being a writer is kind of selfish in a relationship. And so we don't want to put on the burden of 100% support all the time for that, because they are our significant others, our parents or siblings. They need to be able to sometimes kind of say, hey, I need some attention too. That being said, hopefully you're with somebody that understands this dream that you've got, and it understands that it's going to be a long, hard, it's going to be a slog. It's going to suck. You're going to have bad days. There are going to be days when you're just like, the words are not coming, because we all go through that, right? So reach out to other writers. And I want to urge caution about using your writers group as a support network. I don't do writers groups. I used to, and I found benefit from them. At this point where I am right now, if I was going to be in a writers group, I would have to handpick you, and really talk about and create a culture of how we're going to communicate to each other as a writers group. But your mileage may vary. For unpublished writers still working, writers groups are great. Get feedback, have your thick skin, because some people are not going to give you the right. Anyway, that's an entirely different thing, and I'm just going to stop. But again, those writers in your writers group are coming to the group with their own agenda, right? So you don't necessarily want to rely on them all the time. What you want to do is have a pal. A couple of pals, maybe even some people that aren't writers, to really.
Kate said, "What's the difference between writers group and support group?" And I said, "Writing review group versus an emotional support group."
Right. Oh, awesome. Okay, so and that's a great question, KDF. So like. A writer's group is I come and I show up with my manuscript, or I submitted my manuscript ahead of time. People read it. I come, they give feedback. We talk about stuff. They aren't necessary. The purpose of a writer's group isn't necessarily there to be your cheerleader. They're not necessarily there and some people in a writer's group are not prepared to be in the role of, oh, that's okay. You'll get the words tomorrow type of thing. As opposed to somebody like, hey, I'll call him out. My buddy David, basically my little brother, he comes to a lot of stuff with me. We hang out, and he's a guy that when I have those days where I just want to go back to being a janitor, because it's just hard, and it's hard every day, almost, yeah. And I just message him and I go, dude, this sucks. And he will go, hey, bro, and I'm just pulling words out of I'm not quoting him, but he'll like, hey, bro, dude, you got this. You've done this before. And he will give me evidence of my career path to settle me down. Cody, show yourself.
Magic.
Right. Cody does the same thing. I don't reach out to him quite as much because a lot of times he's doing his own creative stuff. But there have been times where we have been in this, where we have both been, oh my God, what's going on? And even Cody put yourself back up.
Back on.
Yeah, even Cody is doing some video work. Remember, and he asked me to give feedback on that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take, but we are not in sort of a critique group or kind of relationship where two peers, largely different mediums, although he's working on a novel, which I'm really excited for him to.
Yeah.
So, but also my encouragement for his novel is, hey, here, read this book, or did you think about this thing, rather than, okay, give me your work so I can look at it and rip it apart, or even give him like, hey, I'd really like to so I can help craft it. I'm sure at some point he will ask me to do that and fill that role, but that's when he's ready for it, not when I'm. All right, you can go away now. So does that make sense? The difference between a critique, going to a critique group for whatever activity, and then having a support network. And some of your support network,
High standards you were putting on him. The pressure.
So, and your support network can be fellow creatives, and you should have a couple of fellow creatives. I'm not going to call out one guy who's a much bigger creative name than mine, but dude, like a year ago, I was having just a really, really bad day with my borderline, and just put it out there. I suffer from I'm a high functioning borderline personality disorder, and some days I just go, oh my God. And I messaged my buddy, who is also very vocal about his battles with mental health, which are different than mine. I said, dude, I'm having a rough day. I'm having a rough week. It's just, and he said, he talked me down. And he says, you got this. And he mentioned to his kids, they were at dinner, he mentioned to his kids that he was tweeting with me. And they said, oh, that guy, we love his show. And it made me feel better. And sometimes that's what you need. Other times it's just the feel better. Sometimes you have that friend, like David for me, will like specifically point to evidence. Like, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. Because sometimes we need that, because when we're in that moment, that moment of crisis of faith of, what am I doing? Why am I even trying this? It's important. We're so focused on that moment that we can't see the rest of what we've done. Even if it's somebody saying, well, how many words did you write yesterday? How many words did you write the day before? Look, you have written words. And that's one of the reasons why I tell beginning writers or hopeful writers, like, when they say, oh, I want to be a writer, I said, well, have you finished a book? And they go, no. I said, that's your first step. Step one is finish your book, even though that first book is probably not publishable. And I'm very, some people it works for, other people, most people, the first book is not publishable, but it teaches you, every writer learns the same lesson by finishing their first book, is that they are capable of writing a book. Okay? And so that way, your support network, even if your support network is kind of you and you have to take a step back and go, oh my God, I've written a book before. I can do this. Okay, it's going to be hard. I had hard days, but that first book got done. And then your second book, I've done this, and you can get back to work. And sometimes getting back to work means a couple of sentences in a day, or maybe even taking a day off, because we all need days off.
Self-care is important.
Yes, as Cody just said, self-care is important. Now, self-care isn't, oh, I'm going to blow off my novel for a week. No. So I can feel better. Like, for a long time, I thought self-care was, I'm going to get coffee and a package of Oreo with Reese's, and that would be my writing fuel. I was self-caring while I was, and yeah, I'm still kind of working off those days. So I wanted to come to the Gallowclass tonight and give sort of this message that because so many people I've seen talking when I'm talking to people about, hey, if you're going to be a writer, here are some things, and who has their writing buddies, and who has the people, their cheerleaders, and most writers don't raise their hand, and I really think the writers who succeed are the writers who have the support network. And I'm going to throw something out because I go to Utah a couple of times a year. Yeah, that was weird the first time.
At first I was like, did I hear it wrong?
No, I go to Utah a couple of times a year, at least once, to go to either a Comic-Con or a writer symposium or a conference or a convention or something. And a lot of science fiction fantasy authors come out of Mormonism. And one of the things, and I am not a scholar of all things Mormon, but one of the things, to my understanding, is as Mormons are growing into adulthood, part of the process of doing that in their community is they are expected to go and learn a skill. There's a lot of Mormon ballroom dancers, and I knew that because I'm a former ballroom dance teacher. There are a lot of Mormon writers, and they're good, and they win awards. And so one of the things that I think is, one of the reasons I think there's so many of them is because they have a community that just is like, yes, go learn this skill, practice this, do this thing. And it's something that from my understanding, it's something that the individual needs to be passionate about. They say, hey, this thing interests you, go do that. And I think just as I've been processing all this and figuring out which of my friends that I know of their background, so I think there's really something to figuring out finding people to support you at every level of your career.
Yeah, it's Rebecca J. Carlson.
Yeah.
It's because we're supposed to develop our talents, whatever they are. It's how we serve and share love with other people. Ian Fluke says that's a Utah culture thing.
Yeah. Right. So so that's basically all I have for tonight. And is I just wanted to talk to you guys about encouraging you to find people, whether it's a couple of friends, whether it's a mentor, because sometimes I still email two of my teachers. I have one that I email for lit theory stuff, and I have one that I email for my fiction stuff when I drove up to Tahoe to have coffee a couple of weeks ago with one of my teachers, just to have coffee for an hour and a half. And it was great, and I came away pumped and ready to get back to work. So that's what I've got for you guys tonight, is to find those people that support you, mentors, friends, fellow creatives. It doesn't even have to be writers. Like if you find an artist and you guys can cheer each other on and maybe collaborate, or just some way to get people to be there even on your darkest days. So that's what I've got. And that's tonight's Gallowclass. If you guys have any questions, we'll hang out for a couple of minutes. Go ahead and throw those out in the chat. Again, and while you guys think of awesome questions for me to answer, it can be related to tonight's lecture, or it can be just anything writing related. If it's a really juicy, like, extended question, I'll use it for an idea for another Gallowclass coming down the line. Again, and I didn't do what I said I was going to do last week because I was traveling basically since after the last Gallowclass. I've been traveling to Southern California meetings and then to the Bay Area. So tonight when I get home, I am going to alter the Gallowclass website. I'm going to put the link where you guys can submit your fiction, because every week, starting in June, because we hit 100 followers. Woo! I said followers, not subscribers.
Yes,
100 followers. I'm going to start using you guys as submissions of fictions to help me talk about the things, to help me illustrate points. Help me illustrate point. God, words. I'm performing in rough draft
Freud
here.
was right.
This is rough draft. That's why I have a producer. Okay, so I'm going to use your guys' fiction. So submit your stuff. Page or two. That's it. A page or two. That's it. Standard manuscript format. This is practice for you guys. I'm going to leave it to you guys to research standard manuscript submission format because you should be doing that. And then if it's not in standard manuscript, I'm just going to delete it. I won't tell you because that's what publishers do. However, I also it's not a submit and then I forget about it. I'm going to put them all in a special folder, and each week I'm going to save them all so that each time that we do a Gallowclass, I will just kind of go, oh, hey, no, that one there. This time that one's the perfect one because I want to have a good body of stuff, and I will email you back and let you know if I'm using your thing on any given Gallowclass. So
Kit Falbo, not the whole book. He's not going to go over a whole book in a session. Like you said, Kit Falbo asked, do we send you a copy of our books?
No, you send up to 2 pages.
I mean, unless you want a free book.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can send me a free book, but tell me which 2 pages, but that free book better be in standard manuscript format or I won't use it. But so if you send me more, just tell me which 2 pages you want me to read for your submission. That way, then I know, because if I'm going to use a book, like actually a published book, then I'll just reach over and grab one off my bookshelf or use one of mine. So, yeah. What?
I had more of a comment than a question.
Sure.
A good source for a lot of creatives who are used to being in community is theater.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe audition for a local play.
Oh, yeah.
Talking to that, because also script writing
Yeah.
is very different and also very the same.
Yeah. And
so that's a fantastic resource.
well, also script writing, if you get into script writing, that's fantastic for story structure. Yeah.
Rebecca J. Carlson, just want to say you were an awesome teacher. Thanks for doing this broadcast.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. Awesome. And then Ian Fluke.
Do you mostly build your creative support group by going to events?
I do now. Actually, yeah, because my first real writers group that I joined, I found out about because I went to World Fantasy Con in 1996 in Monterey, California, and I was part of a writers group for over 10 years. Part of that time, I was also going to San Francisco State.
12.
What?
I was 12.
What?
In 1996.
You were 12 in 1990? Oh, God. Break out the walker. So, yeah. Right now, all of my creative support network, aside from my really close friends that I've had forever, but even like my buddy Trey, who's a big cheerleader for me, and I bounced some stuff off of him. I met him doing Ren fairs and the storytelling thing, and a lot of my early cheerleaders for my self-published career came from my fans of my storytelling show. I wouldn't have a writing career if it wasn't for the people that supported me and told me go for it when self-publishing was still a stigma. So, yeah, go out into the world, go to places where people are creative, hang out with them, go to open mic nights, like read your stuff at open mic nights. Oh, man. And talk to other people, talk to the poets and see what they're doing. There's, oh my God, there's a in Sacramento, because I know some of you are from Sacramento. In Sacramento, there's, I don't remember what the name is, but there's a creative arts collective. And that's not the name of it, but Sacramento Poetry Center does events and readings all the time. So yeah, go out. Dude, Cody, that was a fantastic idea because it just snowballed. Yeah, go to open mics, go to poetry slams. Oh, and just because poetry slams are awesome fun, for those of you who are genre writers, go to conventions. And that's the other thing is some of my early professional sales, like being invited to anthologies, came about because before I was published, even self-published, I had people, I showed up and people knew I was serious. I showed up. I was cool. I didn't, well, ish. But I didn't monopolize people's time. I had the game plan of I'm going to go up and I'll ask people, besides don't quit your day job, what's the one piece of advice? They would give me their piece of advice. I would say, thank you very much. And I would remember, I made a point to remember who gave me which piece of advice. And so sometimes I still go up to them and say, hey, yeah, back in 1996 when I was at the World Fantasy Convention, you gave me this piece of advice and it really helped my career. Thank you. And they love that shit. Pardon my language, but oh my God. It's like, wait, you remember that from 96?
I got a tattoo to my arm.
So anyway, but that's a great question, EM Fluke, is going to events.
Good things come to those who show up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Go to genre writers, science fiction, fantasy writers, go to cons. Go to fan cons. The Nebula Awards, you should go to those if you're science fiction or fantasy, just because that's the professional event. And I remember one of the cool things about it is everybody there is a professional rather than really a fan, even though some fans do go. Mostly is professional. So I got to stand around with John Scalzi for about 10 minutes talking about how awesome his Doc Martens were for the Nebula Awards, because he had like these images. I don't even, at this point, because I drank a lot that night, there were a bunch of, he had a bunch of really cool image, like I think comic images, and we were just talking, and I got to just shoot the breeze with John Scalzi for 10 minutes. It was really cool. I had Beth Meacham from Tor buy me a drink because we'd known each other from other events, and that was cool. And we talked, and so those are the relationships you build, and it's an investment in your career. Yeah.
I lost some nerd cred at one LTUE. We were working, we were doing stuff, and there was the author signing room.
Right.
And you were sitting up at your table and you're doing stuff, and I looked at the nameplate next to you and went, oh, I know that name. And I kind of was wondering to myself for a second. I went, why do I know the name Tracy Hickman?
I remember that.
And you were like, oh, Tracy Hickman. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's right there.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, that was rough. That was rough.
hanging out at his signing with
super
Tracy
cool guy.
Hickman.
Super chill.
So anyway.
Oh, LTUE is.
LTUE is a writers symposium that happens in Provo, Utah every year, right around Valentine's Day. It's usually, I think, the third weekend. Generally, LTUE.net, I think it is. It's Life, the Universe, and Everything, and it's a solid event. They have a guest editor every year. There's lots of panels about every aspect of writing. Sometimes they're moving more towards into some solo presentations, but it's just like it's just a really cool low-key event where you can just talk to people a lot. And and everybody who goes there is either is interested in being a writer, interested in being an artist, interested in being an editor, or a game designer. And it's really cool.
Rebecca.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So we've been going for a while. Any last minute questions from any of you guys? Happy to answer them. Again, tonight I'm going to be setting up the Gallowclass webpage. Oh, we have?
And there's film stuff too. Yeah, that's true. I remember.
Oh yeah, there is film stuff. They do film releases. Is this all one person?
Yes.
Okay. California Daydreams. Thank you so much for following this evening. I appreciate the follow. I hope you're enjoying the stream. So yeah, that's it for tonight. What?
The Patreon.
Oh, that's it for tonight. Please, one of the ways that if you like what I'm doing, you can subscribe to the channel here, and eventually we're gonna have neat stuff. I'm still working out what neat stuff subscribers are gonna get. We're gonna have a point system. We'll implement that soon, where you can trade the points. Subscribers will get more points. You can and you'll be able to trade those points in for cool stuff from me. I'm still figuring out how that's going to work. But also, my Patreon, you get to read some of my stuff in advance. If you support, become a member at a certain level, you get to be one of my beta readers. You get, at other levels, you get hard copies of my books as I publish them, sent to you. Some people even get author proof copies. Ooh. Anyway.
Okay.
Some of you will get, some supporters get personalized stories written for them every month. And yeah, so take a look at my Patreon. I also have the 9/10ths Project, which is
Awesome.
which is a novel I'm writing in single page vignettes, a page a day, posted most days at noon, unless I get really tired and screw up the scheduling, or no, not yet. Shut up. So, or I'm just on the road and things get muddled. But most every day at noon. And you can read the whole thing for free. The first month is all on my website, so you don't have to scroll. You don't have to click on every single one. But the first month, January, is on my website at mtoddgallowclass.com/9/10ths project. There's also a link on my homepage. All right, cool. That wraps it up because I think I'm done. So thank you guys, all of you, for hanging out tonight. Please let your other writer friends know about the Gallowclass live every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. When we start getting more viewers, we'll start doing this on a more regular basis. Possibly.
He's got a master's and it's a free class.
Right. You're right. So, anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for supporting this. I love talking to you. I feel like I'm finally starting to kind of get this talking and teaching in this medium. And so thank you guys. I appreciate it. And we'll leave you with this. Remember, the writing career is a marathon, not a sprint. Good night.